The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. It is now in order to consider amendment number 9 printed in House Report 115-679. For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 9, printed in House Report number 115-679, offered by Mr. MacArthur of New Jersey.
Pursuant to House Resolution 900, the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. MacArthur, and a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. Chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the Chairman of the Agriculture Committee for his help and support and for crafting a farm bill that I think will benefit a great many Americans. This bill benefits both farmers and consumers across the country, even in a densely populated state like mine, New Jersey, the most densely populated state in the nation, and yet in my district I have over 800 family farms that will benefit from this bill. I have cranberry and blueberry growers that will benefit from specialty crop grants. Our main state university, Rutgers, will benefit from research grants. There are crop insurance provisions, conservation measures, things that will benefit all of us. But let's face it, the most controversial part of this bill, or at least one of the most controversial parts, has been the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. Of the $867 billion of authorized spending over the next 10 years, $664 billion, or more than 75%, is for this one program. And this has been bipartisan up until now, at least. It's always been that the federal government would partner with states to help the most vulnerable people in the nation. And at the same time, we would help those people towards self-sufficiency, help them prepare to enter the workforce so that they can have the dignity that comes with a job. I think every American deserves this. We have always balanced both compassion and individual responsibility. And I think this bill goes a long way to continuing in that tradition. My amendment is about children. It is imperative, as we continue this balance, that no child gets caught up, even unintentionally, in something harmful. No child can go to school on an empty stomach and learn. And no child should have to come home from school and wonder where their next meal is coming from. There is a lot in this bill already that protects children. I recognize that, and I recognize that the committee has been very attentive to this. My amendment goes a little farther and makes it explicitly clear to those who administer the SNAP programs around the country that children cannot be harmed in any way. I'll read the relevant part of the amendment. It says if any individual becomes ineligible to participate in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program as a household member due to failure to meet the requirements under subparagraph B, the remaining household members, including children, shall not become ineligible to apply to participate in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program due to such individuals' ineligibility. In other words, kids are off limits. I urge adoption, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Balance of his time. Who claims time in opposition to the amendment?
Speaker,
gentleman from Massachusetts.
Yeah, I rise to claim time in opposition to the
amendment. Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
I'm not going to oppose the amendment, Mr. Speaker, but I do want to say a few words, and that is I'm trying to understand this amendment because I really don't understand the point of it. Under current law, children can still get SNAP even if their parents fail to comply with work requirements. That's the current law. H.R. 2, the Farm Bill, does nothing to change this. So I'm unsure why this amendment has been offered. I think I would classify this amendment as covering your rear end amendment because the bottom line is that there's a lot in H.R. 2 that I think does harm to children. Because when their parents are thrown off a SNAP, while they may not be thrown off a SNAP, the overall household allowance for food gets decreased. And so there is less food for the entire family. And I would just say that if the majority really cared about the impact H.R. 2 would have on children, then they would address the changes that have been made in broad-based categorical eligibility, which will throw working parents off a SNAP And according to CBO, that's the nonpartisan experts that we rely on to give us data, that over 265,000 students will lose access to free school meals. So I don't quite. I mean, there's nothing to be opposed to, I guess, because this is already current law. But I would say to the gentleman that broad-based categorical eligibility, the changes in this bill are going to adversely impact a number of individuals in New Jersey. That alone, 35,000 individuals are going to lose their SNAP benefits. That's just on this one part of the bill. Many of them have kids, and the changes are going to affect these kids. So if you really care about these kids, I would urge you to reject this bill. Send it back to the Agriculture Committee. Let's work in a bipartisan way and construct a nutrition title which everybody understands, which is clear, which has been vetted, and which we can come to the floor and say with certainty that it will not adversely impact kids. Because this underlying bill, no matter how you want to slice and dice it, will have a negative impact on kids. And this, you know, you go home and say, maybe do a press release on this, but it doesn't change the impact of this bill, and I reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Well, I regret my friend's confusion over what it does, but as he well knows, Mr. Chairman, we pass sometimes this much law, and those who implement that pass this much in terms of how it actually gets played out. This amendment makes it explicitly clear to those who administer the SNAP program that children must be held harmless. They must be protected. And on top of that, the underlying bill, also stops family sanctioning. So you can call it a belt and suspenders approach, but when it comes to children, I think it's worth making it as crystal clear as possible that they cannot be harmed. And I'd like to yield 1 minute to my friend from Illinois, Rodney Davis.
Thank you, Mr. MacArthur. I rise in support of your amendment. Much to the chagrin of many who just oppose any changes to actually help us get children out of poverty and out of the cycle of poverty that perpetual SNAP benefits bring to families. I would argue that it's language like this that reasserts the fact that we need to, as this goes through the legislative process, we're in the second step of the legislative process. As this goes through the process, this clearly shows all of us here in the House and in the Senate and on a conference committee the opportunity that we want to make sure that we protect those who need that protection. That's exactly why I'm glad, Mr. MacArthur, you participated in this process. You wanted to make this bill better. You wanted to strengthen it to ensure that our children in the most vulnerable households had the opportunity to get the food that they need. And thank you for doing that. I think this is a great addition to the Farm Bill, and I appreciate you yielding me this opportunity to say so. I yield back.
Thank you. I reserve.
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, I'm at a loss because, look, we have no opposition to this amendment, but let's be honest with each other and let's be honest with our constituents. H.R. 2 will hurt families, will hurt working families, will hurt kids. You know, one thing is also explicit, Mr. MacArthur. According to CBO, 265,000 kids will be thrown off of the free breakfast and lunch program. That's according to CBO. The other thing that is clear is that there are working families, Mr. MacArthur, who, because of their changes in broad-based categorical eligibility, who now get SNAP benefits because we are eliminating broad-based categorical eligibility. A number of them will lose their benefits, and they still work. And their family households, therefore, will have less of a food allowance. That will impact these kids. That is undeniable. So don't sit here and say, this shows that we're gonna protect kids. The law is the law. If you want to restate the law, restate it. Restate it 100 times. Don't hurt kids. But that doesn't change the fact that this bill will hurt kids. And that's why so many of us on this side of the aisle, and hopefully a number of you on your side of the aisle, are going to stand strong and oppose this, because this is not right. There was a right way to do this Farm Bill, and there's a wrong way to do this Farm Bill. This was the wrong way. I reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from New Jersey.
How much time do I have remaining?
Gentleman from New Jersey has 30 seconds remaining.
I yield 30 seconds to my friend from Pennsylvania, G.T.
Gentleman from
Thompson.
Pennsylvania is recognized for 30 seconds.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Chairman, we've heard about broad-based categorical eligibility. If this was a SNAP brochure, Mr. Chairman, and I hand this to you regardless of what your income is, if you accept this as SNAP brochure, you're now eligible for SNAP. That's broad-based categorical eligibility. If, Mr. Chairman, if somebody offers you an 800 number to call regarding SNAP, which is a good thing, as is the brochure, and you use that number under broad-based categorical eligibility, you're now eligible for SNAP, no matter what your income is. And so if it's been found that some families will come off, it's because it's been found that there are families who already exceed the income. Now here's the thing. If they just go and fill out the application, they can be eligible for SNAP if they meet those financial and asset requirements.
Member from Massachusetts
Mr. Speaker?
has 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, all right. CBO, the nonpartisan experts that we all rely on, says that over 400,000 households will lose their benefits because of the changes in H.R. 2 with regard to categorical eligibility. You know, we estimate that to be 1 million people. That is undeniable. So you can sit here all you want and say this is going to hold everybody harmless and that kids won't suffer. It's just not true. I mean, CBO, read the CBO score. Better yet, read the bill. And look, we have no objection to you passing a restatement of current law because current law says that even if parents don't comply, their kids can't be punished. But make no mistake about it, the overall food allowance in that household will decrease. That is a fact. That will impact those kids. So if you truly want to help kids, if you truly care about kids, you will vote no on this bill. You will vote no on H.R. 2. You will make sure that this bill goes back to committee, that we have a bipartisan process, and we have a bill that comes to the floor that helps our farmers and that helps those in need in this country. This is not it. This does not help kids. Your amendment does nothing. This is covering your rear end amendment. I yield back my time.
Question occurs on the amendment offered by the gentleman from New Jersey. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Opinion chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.